Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. When it comes to home security, no one in East Tennessee does a better job, better service, better contracts. Everyone wants doorbell cameras. J.J. Surlis and the team at Safety Systems can provide those and so much more. SafetySystems.com to learn more. All right, bells rang, tears of joy were wept. Nick Saban announced this week that he was retiring and the college football landscape shifted. We'll see what kind of success Alabama has moving forward. They've already rushed out and made their hire. Washington's Kalen DeBoer is the guy that took over there. I want to talk a little bit about that. Is DeBoer the right guy? Next segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about what it specifically means for Tennessee, when you should start seeing changes there. But let's talk about Kalen DeBoer. Is he the right guy? Chuck, we were just talking in the break. You got a problem with right off the bat.
Well, one thing that
and I'm going to shoot it down, but go ahead.
I'll say now is I don't think you ever want to be the first coach to follow the legend. The second mouse gets the cheese. So I'm going to say that applies to this regardless of where he comes from.
And I don't care who he is either. He's doomed.
And it's not just football. You can go sport after sport after sport.
Yep.
You never want to be the person that follows the absolute legend. I think he's going to have success. Will he have the same degree of success?
Wait a second. I asked you to launch with the thing that you brought up as your big problem.
That thing, and that's what I was going to get to next.
Okay.
I was told the only time he's been in the South was for the bowl game against Tennessee when he was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. He's from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I think, and you can say, well, you don't care that he hadn't been in the South. He's going to be recruiting in the South. And I think there's certain things that add up. I think it could be a good hire, but I think he's going to have his hands full.
I think you're right, because I don't think any coach in the SEC will have success if he's from South Dakota.
How wild is it that Tennessee and Alabama both have coaches from South Dakota?
That's right. And he's also bringing in Jarrett McElwain, who was on Alabama's staff for 4 years as a recruiting specialist. It's Jim McElwain's son. That's the recruiting coordinator that he's bringing with him.
He's also lost a guy already to Georgia, by the way.
Yes, and some of that's going to happen because he's not Nick Saban.
I see what I think everybody always goes to that. I don't think it matters. If you're a good salesman, you can sell ice cream, in the North Pole to a reindeer.
Everybody's worried you're Brian Harsin now. That's the problem. Harsin set it back for everybody.
But Harsin was never good.
Right.
Like, that's the thing is he took great. He did the Butch Jones. He took great and made it good.
Butch Jones recruited well here. He had a
he
hell of a
did
class,
He did recruit well here. I'm just saying that Harsin didn't work out because he wasn't good.
Yeah, not every coach from outside the region is going to be Brian Harsin. He just wasn't a very good recruiter, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that here at UT. This guy can't recruit. Butch Jones, his problem wasn't the recruiting. Josh Heupel, they've recruited just fine. I just mentioned they got 3 5-stars in the last 2 classes. Okay, you're stepping in the right direction. I see what you're saying, but Nick Saban had never been in the South either. If you get the right guy, I'm not as worried about that. I'm more worried about your first point, and that is you don't ever want to be the guy who replaces the legend. Daniel, your thoughts on what Washington has done, what Alabama has done in replacing Nick Saban?
Well, my first sentiment is what Chuck said. I mean, it's a throwaway coach. 3 years, you're going to have a coaching change again because this one's just not going to last. And I played on a team to where my first year was with a coach that followed that, and it just nothing ever goes well. There's so much system changing and everything else. It's going to be weird, but I think it's a big win. I think for Jimmy Sexton that got all 3 of his first clients. Let's get all them contract extensions. Let's get them more money. And then here's my 4th one. Let's get him in there. In 3 years, he's going to have a buyout.
Jimmy Sexton's the only guy in college football that's won more than Nick Saban over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of this hire. I think you wouldn't hire the most qualified adult for the job. Yep. And so you wouldn't got a guy who just made the national title game with Washington. I would not have left Washington for Alabama if I was him to follow Nick Saban. Yeah. He did, and his offensive system works, man. It's worked at Indiana. It's worked at Fresno State. It works at Washington. He's good. He's really, really good.
It changes so quickly, though. If this had happened 5 years ago, Alabama is trying to get Dabo Swinney, and if they did, we'd all say, my gosh, what a great hire, and look at what's happened today. So, look, I think I wonder if they didn't just rush out and do it too quickly, personally. It was like, we got to get somebody. I don't know. What's the rush? Take your time. It seems to me there are other people out there. Maybe he's going to be great. And I like his track record, even though it's very short, most of it at the NAIA level, but he's won 80% of his games. Yeah. That counts for something when you win at any level in football at that percentage. But to me, I just wonder if they rushed out, if they could have. Okay, hold on. What are the chances? Could we go get Jim Harbaugh?
Who would they have waited for, though?
Yeah. Could you have gone and gotten Jim Harbaugh? I'd rather have the guy that beat DeBoer. Yeah. He's wanting to go to the NFL. I know, but I'm just saying, are there other guys out there? I don't know. I just think they rushed.
Then you get back to who would that been, and his record, even though it doesn't really compare apples to apples, 104-12.
Yeah.
So he can coach. And another later development is his longtime offensive coordinator didn't get the job at Washington, and he really wanted it. Now he's going with him to Alabama. So things are starting to add up to where you think, oh, this guy's got a chance.
I think within 3 years he's in trouble, and here's the main reason. Nick didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
Nick didn't do it that way. That's what you're going to. He can do it right, and people are going to say, "Yeah, well, Nick didn't do it that way."
You touched on something. We'll see if Tennessee or anyone else deals with this in the future. This is the new reality. You've talked before we've talked about these rushing to hires. Don't do it to save a recruiting class.
Yes.
Here's the problem now. You have to save a roster.
Right.
And the most talented roster he will ever have is probably this one because he's inheriting Nick Saban talent. You want to keep as much of that together, so I think that's why Alabama rushed it, but we'll see if that turns out to be worth it.
And he actually talked to the team the night before the press conference.
That's a terrific point. That is a very good point, that it is a different landscape, and now maybe you do need to hurry
Classes
it up
are starting soon. I mean, you got to have it ready.
Yeah, I'm not a big – I still, though, think if you find the right guy, worry about finding the right guy, not some player who could transfer anyway next year because Lane Kiffin offers him more cash. All right, when we come back, what does this mean for Tennessee? We'll discuss that on the other side of this break. Come on back.